French President Emmanuel Macron says a treaty to protect international waters is on track for ratification in January. Mr. Macron, who's hosting a global summit on the oceans, said this would finally give the world an international framework to regulate and administer the high seas. Our reporter Pierre-Antoine Denis is at the conference in Nice and told me more about the atmosphere there.
Cautious optimism is how one activist that I spoke to on the evening of yesterday evening told me, it's there, it's almost on the table. Emmanuel Macron is usually a very optimistic person, but it's not the number of ratifications on there just yet. You need 60 ratifications for this treaty that was signed a few years ago to finally start to be implemented. It would put some governance around the high seas and change the narrative around what is widely known as international waters, so that it stops belonging to no one but starts belonging to everyone. This is the phrase that we've been hearing times and times again on Monday. But of course, there's some questions around why is this taking so long? The countries need to pass it to Parliament. Why is this such a sticking point for many nations who said, give us a few more months and then we'll get to it? This is the bit of a discussions here. And maybe there is an element of greed, an element of impatience also around this conference. I've been speaking about this element with John Kerry, who is the former special envoy for climate in the United States under the Biden administration. He's here to try almost and save the reputation of his country, because Donald Trump called climate change a hoax, pulled the United States out of all sorts of climate agreements, wants to explore deep sea mining. But John Kerry, of course, who was very much in favor of putting renewable energy at the forefront of the United States, was telling me about how greed and differences are pushing everyone apart, but he hopes that there can be some momentum and that this is no longer a political fight in the United States.
The ocean is used as a dumping ground. We have over 500 dead spots in the ocean as a result of excessive pollution that comes into rivers and flows out into the ocean and has an impact. We see incredible levels of fishing that's illegal, that is not going to leave stocks for humankind. Even though the ocean is so vast, it's just being vacuum cleaned. It's being strip mined in a sense. Massive netting that goes out for 100 miles beyond a vessel and just scoops up everything in it. And a good percentage of what is scooped up simply goes into feed for livestock and so forth. So we think there's a better way to manage the opportunities that we have. We can live very, very well. We think you live better. You will be healthier. It will be cleaner. We will be safer if we can transition to get rid of the things that are harming us, like emissions from burning fossil fuels.
Yeah, there you see the words of John Kerry, and there will be a longer cut of our interview later on this morning to try and understand a little bit more of the US position, how almost there is a fight where Donald Trump might have pulled the United States as a nation out of those climate talks and negotiations, but Americans still want him. That is the view of John Kerry. That is his position and the argument that he's trying to push here in this conference. But it is hard to believe for many nations who are already facing the reality of climate change and are seeing that the biggest emitter is no longer part of the conversation.